Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Professor Anna Grigorian-Routon, and I will be spending the next 16 weeks with you. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of an introduction to the course, and then I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Um, as the weeks go on, your lectures will vary between videos of myself doing PowerPoint presentations, videos of myself talking like this. Sometimes they might just be videos or audio recordings of conversations that others have done on the topics that we're covering each week. And the purpose of that is just my effort to make the course as engaging as possible. Of course, beyond any of the material that's posted on Blackboard for you. I want you to know that I'm always available to you, whether that's during office hours or we create other appointments and opportunities to speak via WebEx or the phone. I'm always available for us to be able to really dig our teeth into the material that we're covering. It's really important that at this level of education, even if you're taking a course online, you don't feel isolated and you really feel like you're able to move through the material, absorb it, process it, think critically about it, and have an opportunity to discuss it with your peers and with myself. So I am new to teaching in the master's program. I've taught in the master's program previously, but it's been a little while, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that I'm new because it's been a couple of years. But I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I actually got my master's degree here at Cal Baptist on the main campus because, well, we didn't really have an ops that offered the MSCP program at the time. But I am a CBU alum, and prior to that, I got my bachelor's degree in psychology and anthropology at UC Riverside. So I've been fairly local for a long time. I know the Riverside community well, and I know the opportunities that are available for interns in the area as well. Well, interns and trainees, depending where in the program you are as you're taking this class. Currently, I'm a doctoral student at Pepperdine University in the clinical psychology program, and I'm getting ready to go off to internship myself. In fact, I've been working on internship applications for a while here. So I certainly know what you're going through, both as a current doctoral student, graduate student, and a former MSCP student. So the world of applications, papers, and so on is very familiar to me. So I both encourage and I'm going to push you and challenge you in this course, but I hope that my empathy for what you're going through certainly comes across. I'm also somebody who's in school with a family and a child, so for those of you who are in that position as well, I certainly understand what it's like to be a parent and a partner to somebody and do this process. And at the same time, for those of you that don't have a family, as I was going through the master's degree, I was on my own. So that comes with its own challenges. So all that to say is, and what I'm trying to communicate to you is that I have great empathy for the journey that you've embarked on. It's not an easy journey, but I really commend you for taking this time and giving yourself the gift of higher education. And I hope that as you go through this class and as you go through this program, you really feel supported, not just by myself, but by the other people who are part of the MSCP program and OPS and CBU at large. So let's look a little bit at this class in particular. So this is Psych 541, Empirically Based Treatments for Severe Psychopathology. I like to think of this class as, well, it's slightly different, but advanced psychopathology. So if you took abnormal psychology as an undergraduate and then in the graduate program you took advanced psychopathology, This is the next step to that. So once we learn about diagnosis, we definitely want to talk about how to treat it. This is a 16-week class, as most of the classes in the MSCP program are. So we'll be spending this time together, and you'll have weekly assignments, weekly videos, weekly readings. So hopefully you've already purchased the books, and we do have two that we'll be using fairly consistently. The Hoffman and Thompson book, which is basically a treatment planner. And what a treatment planner is a guide for clinicians in determining steps to take in order to create effective and empirically based treatment plans. And what empirically based means is just that there's been a lot of research done that these types of treatments are most effective. They're not the only effective treatment, so I want to make sure that we make that distinction since it's in the title of the course. Empirically or evidence-based treatments aren't the only ones that are effective. There's lots of treatments that are effective. One can argue that the placebo treatment is also effective because some people get better when they're taking a placebo pill, for example. However, when we talk about something being empirically based, we're talking about a lot of studies being done on that topic, so on that type of treatment, on that modality, on that approach. And the studies showing consistently that this type of treatment has been helpful in treating, say, schizophrenia or major depressive disorder or bipolar disorder, and so on. So while other treatments might be able to be helpful, these are the most effective. So the second book is the Bergquist and Youngsma, and I do apologize if I mispronounce those names. If one of you knows exactly how to pronounce those correctly and I said it wrong, please, it will not hurt my feelings, please correct me. And that's going to be your textbook, so that's much more of a textbook approach to this class, if you will. It's going to provide a lot of information about diagnosis, about treatment, about factors affecting diagnosis and treatment. So you can think of it as the meat of the course that you'll be getting from that textbook. So throughout the next 16 weeks, I might be recommending other books in the videos or announcements that I think might be helpful. Those are not necessarily required reading, but as you go through this program, I hope that you are purchasing the books, though I certainly know how expensive they can be, because this is a great way for you to build your professional library. It's really easy as you go through this process to say, oh, I'm just going to make a list and I'll buy these books later when I need them. But then when you need them, you may not have them. And even though Amazon delivers pretty quickly, sometimes when you're on the job at an internship site or at a practicum site, you need to look something up really quickly, or you need to already know that thing or that piece of information. So having those books and having them easily accessible and available to you is going to be very, very helpful. So I really encourage you to look at your syllabi, purchase the books or rent them, even if you rent them or purchase them used or something like that. And also look at their recommended reading lists and see if there's some titles that you're able to purchase now, because they really will enrich your process. We at OPS really, really try to cut down the reading lists for our students, both in the required and the recommended sections, because we know books are expensive, time is short, so we want to be realistic about what we're asking you to do. But we also want to give you lots of references and lots of connections to reading materials and to literature that's going to be helpful, not just in this class, but down the road as well. And so these two books, I think, are going to be quite helpful to you. So we'll be looking at specific psychiatric illnesses and specific diagnoses that are on the more severe end of the spectrum. So as you know by now, psychological mental health can be thought to be on a continuum. So we see that in, say, a diagnosis of major depressive disorder, because it can manifest itself with mild, moderate, or severe features, depending on the number of criteria that are met. So in this class, we're really going to be looking at some of the more severe pathology. Now, you may be asking yourself, and a lot of students do, well, I want to be an MFT. I want to work with couples, or I want to work with families. I want to work with kids. Why do I really need to look at the really severe pathology? That's for clinical psychologists. That's for psychiatrists. That's not really what I'm interested in doing. But the truth is, currently, given the limitations of hospitals, limitations of community mental health sites, and just the overall higher needs as people are recognizing the importance of mental health and are looking for more places where they can have those needs met, MFTs and LCSWs are seeing more and more severe cases. So in some practicum sites I know where the clinical directors try to really weed out some of the much more difficult cases so that they're more appropriate for MFTs and students in training. Even then, a lot of the referrals that are coming in are for people that have comorbid disorders, that have co-occurring disorders, or have psychotic features, or might have long-standing severe mental health issues that they're presenting with. So it's really important that even if you think you're not likely to work with a population that presents with schizophrenia, for example, which is our first topic of the week, that you really engage with this material and really try to understand it, because even if you plan to refer out in the future, A, that may not always be possible, and B, you certainly want to at least be able to know what the signs are, what the symptoms are, how to treat it, and who the most appropriate referral source would be. Lastly, when we think about that, I guess C to that would be, if you're working on family and relationships, it's important to understand how severe pathology affects the system, affects the family, affects a marriage, affects parent-child relationships. So these are all things that we'll be talking about over the next 16 weeks. This week, as you look at Blackboard, I really want you to take the time to familiarize yourself with the syllabus, familiarize yourself with the assigned readings, and go through the week 1 assignments and readings, as well as the websites that are made available to you. And get comfortable with the pace and get comfortable with the subject matter. I'm not going to give you a big, long lecture this week. And next week, I actually have something I want you to listen to that I think will be very helpful. So as the weeks go on, we'll talk and get more and more familiar with the topic of the week, and we'll be starting with schizophrenia. So as you go through the material, I want you to contact me with any questions you have, whether that be kind of logistical things about when something is due or how I want it turned in, or as you start putting and consolidating your knowledge on all of this that you've gained over the last several courses you've taken, I want you to contact me with questions about that as well. And lastly, if you have professional development questions, I'm more than happy to spend the time speaking to you about that as well. I'm really excited to spend these coming weeks together. I'm excited about what we'll be covering, and I wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful session.